Hi friends, it's Becky, and I am revisiting a past Sam's Bead box from last year actually, from 2024. Last week I did a live with Rachel from Sam's Bead Box, and we did sort of a walk down memory lane, and I pulled out some of the past Sam's Bead boxes and talked about how I wasn't able to get to all of the things that I wanted to make from some of them. And so we sort of did a poll to see which ones the audience might want to see us revisit. And while I am definitely going to go back to the Arizona one, the Tucson Treasures, or was it Turquoise Treasures? I am going back to that one. I also wanted to go back and visit one that they still have in stock at Sam's Bead Box, because I was also talking to Rachel about it, and she decided to set us up a coupon code so that if you want to purchase this box, which they still have in stock as one of the extras, the coupon code that I will put in the description below will get you $10 off that box. I'll put a link right to it. So if you want to pick up this Woodland Fairy bead box from Sam's Bead Box, this was the October 2024 bead box. It was curated by Louisa at her YouTube channel is Misty Moon Designs. And so she pulled all of these gorgeous, gorgeous beads together. I made a necklace with the amethyst geode pendant that was in that box. I made some earrings with the little tulip things. I'll put links to those makes and my unboxing video also in the description below, so you can check that out. But I wanted to make just a little jewelry set using some of these adorable, cute fairy links that we have here. And then I was going to use some of these little leaf guys in here, and I was thinking of doing a what is it called, an asymmetric design with some of these beads. I pulled out like the light green check glass beads. We have some 4mm, 6mm, and 8mm beads. We have some of these 4x5 rondelles, and we've got that also in this purple color and this teal color. So I'm going to, or aqua, more aqua than teal. So I'm going to be using those and these pressed glass flowers. They're actually two different types of flowers, but I'm going to be using both types in a design. I want to do just a beaded chain with these flowers, and then we'll connect these little leaves to the beaded chain with jump rings. So I am adding from my finding stash, I've got some jump rings. These are 4mm jump rings. I've got a couple of clasps that I'm going to be adding. Got some ear wires for the earrings. I'm just going to make some earrings with some of these rondelles and these guys here. I also wanted to do a bracelet, and I'm using these larger flower check glass pieces. For that, I'm going to use one of these in the necklace as well. And I decided to pull out some of this Rolo chain to add to the design. So what I want to do with you right now, before we get started, is I'm going to go ahead and make my focal, and then I will show you, demonstrate one of the links that I make. And these links I'm going to use for the bracelet and for the necklace. I sort of laid out some of what I'm doing for the necklace already, but let me go over the tools that I'm going to be using. I have some chain nose pliers, some round nose pliers, and some flush cutters. And then when I get to the stringing part, because it'll be partly beaded chain and partly strung, I'm going to be stringing onto some copper colored medium wire from Softflex, and then using a magical crimper for crimping that. So when we get to that, we'll get to that. I've got some 20 gauge antique copper wire that I'm going to use for my links. And just real quick, let's go over how to make that link. I'm going to be taking the bead. I like to put the bead onto my wire before I do any cuts, so that I know exactly or approximately how much I want to cut. It helps me not overestimate how much wire I'm going to be using. But I like to drop it down out of the way so I don't need to hold it while I'm here working at the very end. I'll take my round nose pliers And this is already cut flush, so I just need to get that right there at the end. And I'm opening and closing while I turn it so that it goes back to the other side. And I can make myself a little loop on that side. I'm just going to be using simple loops for this design. I want my links to be kind of smaller, and when you do wrapped loops, it elongates your links. I want some nice short links like that. So from the bottom of this bead to about a finger's width is where I will cut it. And I'm going to cut this wire again after I bend it. So I'll make sure that my flush side is down here for the next link that I make. And then for this, I'm pinching my bead and the wire and then bending my wire over to make a sort of right angle bend. Then I'm going to measure the side, or measure the wire on the side of my finger. I usually measure until I get to about where my my fingernail meets there. That I found is about 1 centimeter. You may have skinnier fingers than I do, so you may have a different part of your nail that you might go to, or a different part of your hand that you use for measuring. But you can see here, that is a pretty decent measuring tool for getting a loop that will equal the other side. And I'm just twisting the loops to make sure that they are parallel. And now I've got myself a little simple loop that I can use in both the bracelet and the necklace design. So I'm going to go ahead and make some more simple loop links out of all of these little flowers, and we'll make sure that we have enough for half of the bracelet design, because it is also going to be asymmetrical. I'm going to use these leaves as well as part of the design. I haven't decided if I want to make a link with the leaves or if I want to just string them on with some of these other beads. So when I get back, oh wait, before we go, let's make ourselves a little focal here with our guy. And this is going to be basically the same type of link, just with a bigger flower. So I'm going to put this guy on here. Do my loop, start there, rotate it, keep going around until the end of that wire hits that wire there. And then you're going to take these pliers and you kind of rotate that other barrel down to just below there. And it's a really small movement. You're just going to rotate your wrist back like this when you do that. And that, when you do it, puts a little bend right there. And that it centers the loop. It makes it hold a little bit better. And I also like to give a little squish to my loops when I make them. Work hardens the wire so it will stay loopy a little bit longer. I'm going to make another simple loop on the other end, which I'm going to attach to my my little charm after I've made it. Right, so just like with the other one, I'm going to bend that back that way. Measure along the side of my finger. And then we're just going to roll that up with our round nose pliers until it meets that side and that end. And I like to give that side a little squish too. And now that I've squished it, I'm going to swing that open. Make sure there's enough clearance between it and the side there. Put my dangle on. and that's going to be my focal. So I'm going to continue making these simple loops on these links, and once I've got all my links put together, we'll come back. You guys aren't going to have to wait very long because it's going to be like right now. And now that all of these are done, we can put them together. Now I'm going to be using 2 sets of pliers, one that's kind of round and one that's not as round. You can do it with 2 sets of pliers. You can use one of those rings to open and close, jump rings. I just find it really easy for me to use 2 pliers for that. So when I do this, I'm going to be taking my little links and linking them together using one of these little jump rings that I showed you earlier. So basically, let's open this up. Let's swing it open so that we've got plenty of room for that. Swinging it open like that. And then I'm going to put one of my links on, and then the other link right after. And readjust my grip because that was starting to slip a little bit. And then right here on this same jump ring that I'm connecting these links with, I'm going to slide one of these leaf charms on. If there is enough room for this to go on. These are a little bit wider than the 20 gauge wire. There we go. So now that I've got all 3 of those on here, I'm going to close that up. And now I've got 2 of these flowers in a little bit of a chain with a little leaf dangle hanging from that bit right there. And I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of these. I'm just going to keep going like in a row. We'll do purple, green, and then aqua, and then just repeat that. So we have purple, green, aqua, and then purple, green, aqua, and then purple and green to round everything out. And so I'm going to get all of these connected with the jump rings. I'm just going to do this next one. And once these are all connected, I'll have a completed chain that I can share with y'all. So let's go through like this. Shouldn't take too long to do this. I think it's going to be an awfully pretty part of this necklace. So I'm going to get all of these connected. We're going to add that leaf charm in between each of these links, and I will be right back once I've got all of these connected together. And now that I'm done putting together my chain portion of my necklace, I am ready to start the strung portion. But I just wanted to point out here that I added these dangles for, I guess this will be most of the front part of the necklace. This part will go behind my neck though. So I just left the leaf dangles off of there. I still continue to use a jump ring to connect those all together. So this is the length that I want for this half of my necklace, and as it's going to be asymmetrical, I'm going to be stringing the other half. But this is not a very heavy necklace. That's one of the nice things about beaded chains, is that they're not super heavy. They're a lot more lightweight than they would be on that. So to get the same length on the other end with some of these beads, the second half would end up being a lot heavier. And a lot of times when I'm wearing an asymmetrical necklace, if one side is heavier than the other, it rotates while you're wearing it, so you end up with your pendant up on your shoulder or something like that. So what I want to do is use my kitchen scale here. Let's see, hello. We're going to use my kitchen scale, and I am going to weigh this half. So that's 1 gram. Here, let's tear So we're at 0. All right, so that weighs about 8 grams. I'm going to tare that. And now when I add beads, I can try to get close to the 8 grams to match this end of my necklace while I am doing my beading for the rest of it. I'm going to be using some of these 6mm aqua beads, some of these 8mm peridot AB color beads, and some of these purple rondelles. So let's get these guys about. Let's start off here. Let's do one of these. A little repeat. A little bit of a repeaty action. And what I'm going to do is just start stringing this and then weigh it as I go. And once I have the right weight of beads for the second side of my thing, then I will finish up the rest of that side with some chain, because the chain doesn't weigh very much. It's about, let me get that on a flat surface actually. There we go, that's flat. Okay, so altogether this weighs about 5 grams. So I know part of it might weigh like 1 gram. So I'll do about 7 grams of beads plus 1 gram of chain, and that should get me an even-ish amount of beads on each side. So I'm just going to start that. Where's my, there it is, beading wire. All right, let's see how many of these will get us that 8 grams. I imagine that especially with these 8mm beads, it might be a little bit shorter than I had intended, but it's okay because I wanted to include these great big 8mm beads in this. All right. Actually, it went to sleep, so I have to wake it up again, and that clears out the tear that I had before. T-A-R-E, not T-E-A-R. I'm gonna check how much this weighs real quick. Okay, so that's about 4 grams. Here, let's bring it over here so you can see. There we go, so that's about 4. So one side will have a longer section that's beads plus some chain, and the other side will just be beaded chain. That's 6. I think one more repeat would probably be the right amount. Okay. Alright, so that's 6. How much chain? About that much chain. Alright. That's going to be perfect. That is 8. All right. I use a food scale for so many things that aren't food. Like, I use it to measure yarn. I'll use it to measure beads. I use it for a lot of things that aren't at all related to yarn. Or, sorry, that aren't at all related to food. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this loop attached to one end of my chain. I'm going to use my crimps to do that. Got some copper soft flex crimps. These are 2x2 crimp tubes. They work best with the magical crimpers. Has a little concavity on the inside that helps turn your crimp into a little ball of crimp. So I'm going to put my crimp tube on one end of my wire and then put it through one of the loops on this Rolo chain. This Rolo chain is just some chain that I had in my stash. That was the right color to go with this. I'm going to bend that back around. And adjust that so I've got a nice little loop right there. And then I want to crimp that. So for magical crimper, you'll want to center your bead right there in that little loop. Give it a smush, and it smushes down just the corners of your crimp. Turn it at a right angle. Give it another smush. And all you need to do is just keep going around from different angles, smushing your crimp. Keep it centered as you adjust which angle you're crimping down on. After a while, all of those sharp corners will be smoothed out, and you'll be left with a nice little ball of crimp that's smooth to touch, very strong. A lot of people like to see the tug test when we do those. There you go. And now I'm just going to make another loop on the other end. I'm not going to attach that loop to this yet. I'm just going to use jump rings to attach this end and this end to my focal. So I just need to create a loop first. And then I can use a jump ring to attach it to the other side. I'm just feeding that back through the jump ring and just a couple more beads, just for the fun of it. Now make sure you leave a loop there. And I want there to be enough room for my pliers to get around this. So I'm just going to use my fingernail to adjust the spacing there on that crimp so that there's a little more room for me to get this guy through here on this one. And then I'm going to do the same thing, my initial ravioli crimp, and then the follow-up to smooth out all of those edges from different points of the compass around. There we go. Snipping off the excess wire there. Now, let's get these chains. I'm holding these together so that I can find the point of the Rolo chain where we are half and half. That's about right there. So I'm just going to use my snippers and snip that link away. There we go. And one of the fun things about this too is that most of this chain will just be hanging out behind my neck. And you'll see this on one side and this on the other side when it's being worn. All right, let's get these connected. I'm going to be using jump rings again for these. And I would like to use 2 jump rings for this end. Come on, buddy. There we go. So one of these jump rings I'm going to connect to the flower side, and I'm going to add a little leaf on that. Close it up. And then the second jump ring, I'm going to go through that jump ring I just added. And my pendant. There we go. So now that's connected. Now I want to connect this one as well. So for this, I'm just going to connect with a single jump ring on that side. Hey friend, where are you going? Right. Let's close that up. Right. And now we need a closure for this end. I have this fun closure that I want to use on this. It's nice and floral. Is a large jump ring, and so we need sort of a larger loop in order to loop it onto, other than this, because these are kind of small for this to go through, and that will just end up being frustrating for me as the person who wants to close this, so it's not going to work for that. I need to put a loop on here that this can go through. So I'm going to grab my 20 gauge wire, and I'm just going to do sort of a figure 8 loop, but it's going to have one loop that's a little bit bigger and one loop that's a little bit smaller. So let's grab my round nose pliers. I'm going to make my smaller loop first. Are we cut flush? No, we are not. Let's do that. There we go. Hey. So I'm going to do a loop just like I did my other loops for my simple loops, but instead of bending it back to center my loop, I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to put these pliers right on the side of there. I'm going to grip it right below there, and I'm going to move the wire to where it is close to the larger end of my my pliers, and I'm just going to pull the wire around all the way around until it crosses over again, until it crosses over right there. And then right at this point where it crosses over, I'm going to take my pliers, or my snippers, my flush cutters, I'm going to snip it right there with my flesh side against the rounded part. So now I've got somewhat of a figure 8 link. I'm just going to work hard in this by smushing it with my pliers. I have some, these are my favorite pliers for smushing my wires with, and they are the wide nose pliers. I like to just stick it right there. Give it a good smush. See how it flattens it out a little bit? That just helps the copper not move as much when it's actually being used. And I definitely want the rounded parts of this on the bigger part smushed. There we go. And now I've got a link that this will go through, or when I go to connect my my parts of my necklace. I'm going to swing this smaller loop open. I'm not going to mess with the large loop at all, but I'm going to put that through the end of this chain to attach it there. And then grab myself I need a larger jump ring. There we go. This is a larger jump ring. It's about a 5mm instead of 4. And I could just use the loop here to attach it, but I'd rather use a jump ring, just to give it a little extra articulation. Alright, so that will be the necklace that we finished. Now, it's not a full set like I did in Full Set February. I'm not going to do a ring. I could, but I'm not going to. So we would probably end up being here for quite a while. But I am going to close this up for my asymmetrical necklace. I'm going to move this out of the way while I pull out. I'm just going to put it on while I'm waiting. There we go. That's nice. So now I'm going to make the bracelet. I went ahead and made the same chain that I used on the necklace. It's going to be part of the bracelet on this. And I only used 5 flowers for this because it's going to be, again, an asymmetrical neck bracelet. I also made the same link that I had attached my charm to with the large flower so that we can have that connected for part of this bracelet. And then we're going to do some stringing for this other, I guess, half of this bracelet. And keep in mind we also will have a toggle clasp taking up some of our space on the bracelet as well. So for this I wanted to just do some stringing with some of these beads, grab some of the purple flower, and then we were gonna just put these guys on here on the stringing part, and then some of these 6mm aqua colored beads, more of these purple flowers, and some of these small green rondelles like this. So let's put this guy on here like this. And that will probably end up being enough or more than enough for that end of the bracelet. So what I'm going to want to do is first connect these all together, and then I'll get the other loop started on that. So let me grab that. I'm going to connect this to the big guy right here using a jump ring and another one of those leaf connectors. I just really like the leaf charms so much. They just add a lot of whimsy to every single design that you can make with this box. There we go. It was such a clever thing for Louisa to add. There we go. Alright, so that is part of that. I'm gonna get started, I think, right there. So let's get some wire off of this spool. Pretty sure that's gonna be enough. And I'm just going to make a loop and then connect it here to this link here and then start stringing. Yeah, I can swing that open. It's a simple loop, so I can swing it open and closed. I don't have to attach this right away. I can just start with my loop here. My loop was too small. Okay, there we go. That is a perfect size for a loop. Just gonna crimp this real quick. So let me tell you about the magical crimpers. I misplaced my magical crimpers. These are replacements, but they were not the first ones that I ordered as replacements. I ordered a set, and it had very obviously been a return. And so I tried it out, and I could not get a proper round magical crimper crimp out of that magical crimper. So I said, well, they must have sent me one of the dodgy ones, and instead of sending it back so that it could get sent out to somebody else, because whoever received it would look at it and say, it's just fine, it's still working, totally functional, without testing it, I just went ahead and tossed it and bought a new pair. I bought these from Jill Wiseman, actually, and because she's local, and I knew I'd get it quickly. And it works perfectly, absolutely perfectly. So, yeah, you know, that's the thing. It's that when they work, they work. When they don't, they just don't. But let's go ahead and start stacking these guys on there. Like that. Get these guys to the right size. I'm going to stop about partway through the end of this and check the size on my bracelet mandrel to see where we're at with that. But I'm at the part of making this where I've completely forgotten what I talked about at the beginning of this video, and I just wanted to see if I remembered. And if I already said this, I apologize for repeating myself. I just can't remember if I covered this or not. But in addition to this bead box having a coupon to get $10 off, all of the remaining 2023 bead boxes, including the one that I used these beads from, this was from Winter Wanderer, for the bracelet that I've got there, they're also $10 off, and there isn't a coupon code for that. They're just automatically discounted in the Sam's Bead Shop section. I'll put a link directly to those in the description as well. So you can, check out some of the 2023 bead boxes as well as the 2024 bead boxes like this one. This is the only one that the coupon code will work for, though, is this one. But there is no coupon code needed for the 2023 boxes. So it's a fun way to, if you missed the boxes or if there was a favorite of yours that you just absolutely love and can't live without, or if you just want more of one. I went ahead and got another Under the Waves one. I absolutely love the colors of that. And there was one more. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I grabbed another one because I was like, you know what, that is such a really good sale. And they were fun boxes to get. I don't need my scale anymore, but I do need this. So let me get this connected to that end, and I'm just going to put a bead stopper on here to keep these from flying while I do that. Because I gotta check my length and add more beads if I need to. So I'm going to swing this open, put this loop that I made on here, closed. Oop, hey friend. Oh, actually, I might take some beads off of here. Yep, I'm gonna take all of the beads, take these beads off, maybe actually those beads, because again, we've got to have room for the clasp. I keep letting go of this, and I don't mean to. Sometimes my fingers don't do what I want them to do. Alright, I'm going to add another one of these. No. Let's just do one of these guys. And one of these. And that's because this end will most likely be this toggle end. So having, slimmer beads usually helps a little bit more for that end. Let's double check. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be perfect. So also with this end of my toggles, I like having at least one, maybe two jump rings to give it more maneuverability. So I'm going to make myself a little loop, and then we're going to attach some jump rings to this. Let's make ourselves a loop. Again, I want there to be enough space between the crimp and that bead for my crimper to fit there, so use my fingernail to make some space, and then I can center my crimp correctly for this go around. Alright, one jump ring for this end. I love it. It's so whimsical. And then one more jump ring for this end. And again, this clasp was one that was in my stash. See how it sits. Okay. Want there to be some movement with each of those. So there's our bracelet. That is finished. Let's make some earrings. Alright, let's make some earrings. And so the earrings are just really, really simple. I'm using these rondelles and making some simple loop links. And then attaching my fairy charm and an ear wire. So pretty simple, pretty easy, but also pretty fun and whimsical, and it'll go great with the rest of everything that I've created. And I have to say, that necklace, you know, I put it on right when we finished finishing it. It's sitting on my neck and it is not moving, so I'm glad I waited. Alright, simple loops. Let's make them all together now. Got my round nose pliers and my flush cutters here. All of these beads on here to begin with. Earrings are a great place to practice your wire working skills, making loops. They're low stakes, quick, and pretty impactful, and it's so nice when you get it right. So I'm going to just make a simple loop here. I'm going to pull this around till it meets the other side. Drop this down, bend it back to center it. Give that a smush. Push my bead up. Measure 1 finger width down. Cut the wire, not your finger. And do the next one. Come on, beads. Where are you going? I am just about done with this spool of wire. I have more. One more. buddy. Now, I should have held on to that, but I didn't, and it went over to the other side of my desk there. Let's get that guy back on there. Alright, I'm going to hold on to the wire and the bead with one finger while I push with my other finger just over the top. And then actually it was too high up. I'm going to fix that a little bit with my pliers. There we go. While I'm holding it, I'm going to measure on the side of my finger. Snip off my excess. And use my pliers to roll this bud bead up. Give that side a little smush and also straighten these guys out. There we go. So now I've got myself a little link, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Sometimes it's hard with smaller beads to have the right leverage to be able to bend over like that. So it is pretty difficult for me to do that. I'm going to switch to my pliers for the next one. So there's the second one. Alright, so I'm still having a pretty firm grip on the wire in this when my pliers were bending it over. You want to do that carefully when you do it. Oop. I am pretty glad that I am just about done with this because my wrist is starting to give me some grief. Alright. I'm going to just swing this open and attach these next beads in the same order. So the next one after the green is the blue. And the next one after the blue, so swing this open, is the purple. And then the next thing that is attached to the purple link is, oh, there we go, my fairy. There we go. That's pretty nice. Oh, and I think I want to switch the orientation of this loop. See how it's parallel there? I'm just holding on to the bottom loop and the top loop of this top link, and I'm just going to switch it so that my pliers are going crossways. That's how you can change the loop orientations on your things, and that's just so that the fairy faces front when it's hanging from someone's ears. So let's open this guy up, put this on there, and then let's take a look at all of these guys that we have, all of the things that we've made today with this. It is so much fun to go back and revisit a very loved bead box that I just didn't have a chance to spend enough time on. I'm really glad that y'all encouraged me to do this. I'm going to do that with a few of the others. I really, really loved the turquoise trails, so we're going to revisit that again. But there aren't any of those in stock, so I'm making this with this one, so y'all can maybe get some if you didn't have this box. There's my bracelet to go with that, and oops, I was looking around my desk for the necklace. It's on my neck. Let's pull this off. There we go. And that's my necklace that goes with it. This is such a fun and beautiful and whimsical bead box. I'm really glad that I took the time to make another thing with this and share it with y'all. Once more, check in the description for links to my past makes, the unboxing for this, and the listing, as well as the coupon code that you can use to get $10 off this box if you wanted to purchase it. Until next time, though, happy beading!